next item tonight is a discussion with Chris Bilo, who is our Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, regarding the process of renaming North Pond Parks to the Charles E. Sexton Memorial Park. So, oh yeah, we have to slide you in there. We don't have the podium up tonight, do we?
That's all right. Okay.
And while Chris is getting in, Chris was our guest last night in the electronic town meeting with Barry Howard, the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and myself, and he is a natural.
I watched it. You did a great job.
He did, didn't he?
Yes.
The time is yours, Chris.
I can promise that I don't have, like Mary and Ted had, I don't have a lot of slides, etc. So mine is going to be more information based and sharing kind of what's transpired in the last year. And just so everybody's aware, this information was presented to the Grozer Board Monday night this past week, so they're aware of this recommendation as well. So for those of you that don't know who Charles Sexton was, Charles was actually the very first recreation director that worked for the town of Webster. He was employed from the town from 1962, retired in 1996. So 34 years of service in the town of Webster. So obviously being the first recreation director is very important. He was also the first African-American recreation director in New York State. So very significant. Charles passed away June of last year at the age of 89. And the process for what I'm talking about this evening started about a month after Charles passed away. Obviously, from a department standpoint, what we are today basically is a result of what Charles did in his 34 years. Being the first director for the department, he was responsible for things that are still going on. He was the one that started the senior program, running the very first offerings for that group. He started the summer camp program, which obviously we still continue today. So everything that we do now is based off of what Charles did back when he started in 1962. Upon hearing of Charles' passing, the department obviously felt it was important to sort of honor or recognize Charles in some way. And coincidentally enough, about a week or so after we had some brainstorming sessions internally, I was contacted by Charles' daughter-in-law, who asked if there was any possibility that the town would have any sort of recognition for her father-in-law. And I said, actually, we're looking at doing something right now, and sort of created that dialogue with the Sexton family of what would be appropriate. Through that dialogue, it came up that, as they said, his cherished project while he was here in town was the creation of North Ponds Park, and it would be appropriate or fitting that if we renamed that park to the Charles E. Sexton Memorial Park. So that's sort of how the background started, where we got to, I'll say, late summer of 21. Then with COVID going back into high gear, the Sexton family asked if we could hold off until 22, as a number of the Sexton family is on the West Coast in California, so it involves a lot of travel for them to come to town. The family and I have been back in touch in the last month and a half. They have asked if, with this going forward, that we could have a ceremony the week of April 18th, having it on Friday, April 22nd. I believe that there is a service or some sort of a ceremony for Charles locally taking place on that Friday in the morning. So it'd be appropriate to have some sort of a ceremony event take place that afternoon. Also, coincidentally, Mr. Patty reminded us that it is also Earth Day, so whatever we do from a ceremony standpoint, we can obviously tie in Earth Day. North Ponds, as you know, recently, last year, had a number of ash trees that were taken down. We have talked about, from a replanting program, putting new trees in, so it ties in kind of nicely in regards to getting both of those pieces tied together. In discussion with the family, weather permitting, would be actually done on site. We have confirmed with the family the name. There's some minor things add an E Sexton instead of just Charles Sexton. We actually are also in the process of doing what Glenn, our Parks Director, is calling a sign inventory in all of our town parks, and there's a number of signage issues that we are going to be addressing over the next several years in regards to updating and kind of creating a new look for our park signs. This gives us a perfect opportunity to sort of kickstart that with having a new look for our entrance of our park signs. Because of the discussion back and forth, I was hoping to have an example of what the sign may look like tonight. We are kicking around a few ideas, but that is still being worked out. As soon as I get some of those renderings, obviously pass those along. But the idea is to have that ceremony take place on the 22nd. Short ceremony. The family does have a few family members they would like to have speak. They have asked if we could reach out to a few of the old Parks and Rec employees that worked when Charles was still working for the town. A few of them I'm actually aware of, so I'll reach out to them, see if they'd be happy to or be willing to come in and speak. Obviously, I'd like to have somebody from this board be present at that event and just have some presence and say a few words. Because it is break week for us, I unfortunately will not be here that Friday night. But Katie Kovar, our Recreation Director, and Glenn Morrell, our Parks Director, are both here, and they'll both be present for it.
I will certainly be there.
I think the only other logistically thing we would want to button up before is probably the town board meeting prior to the 22nd would be to have a resolution to formally adopt the name change. So the process on the 22nd is more or less just unveiling of the new sign, etc.
One of the things that I did mention when I realized that coincidentally it was Earth Day, and you did talk about planting trees to replace those trees that we've lost, but I thought it would be really great if part of that ceremony was we could plant one tree in memory of Charles. I think it would be really great if we even had a small plaque on the tree at some point in the future that was planted on that day in memory of him.
Yep. Those are all sort of the pieces of that ceremony that we're trying to iron out right now.
And as far as being weather dependent,
So we talked when we were doing the planning. We've already booked out the rec center, so that if it is, April 22nd, you never know what you're going to
snow.
Could snow.
Yes.
So if it is weather, needs to be canceled or moved, we have the backup. They've asked if they could have it at the rec center, so we'll do it there.
Sounds like you got it covered.
It's funny, the only thing I'll say is that I without getting into a lot of detail of my past life, so to speak, I've watched certain Hall of Fame inductions or naming of things where an organization starts to dilute so far that you have people in the Hall of Fame or name things that really they weren't worthy of it. This is the exact opposite. I mean, your resume, you're 34 years. Our first parks, rec, and all that. Everything you just read off. And selfishly, because I met Charles and got to know him a little bit in 2019, and just a gentleman. I don't know, do you know him, Charles?
No, actually,
Eddie?
I don't, but I know that I came to Webster shortly after '62, and the name Charles Sexton was synonymous with the Recreation Department.
Bill, do you know?
I met him a couple times over the years that I lived here, and I know a lot of people that have thought very highly of Charles. And unfortunately, I will not be in town on this dedication.
And that, I'll be there.
I can tell you too, Barry Dean, he's already reached out to me. He shared his desire to be part of it as well.
And
I will be there.
Good.
I'm assuming because you did not.
Well, I think maybe it is because I go a lot in my community. So, and I met, just a couple people. I'm also with the museum liaison, and we had a meeting, yesterday, and they did mention it. And when I use
That's great.
We've been trying to do a history about our African American that live here and that dedicated their lives to be part of our history, and he's part of it.
Well, it's funny, he retired in 1996, I mean, that's 26 years ago. I moved to Webster in 1996, so it's getting a long ways. So unless, I mean, I could foresee that we do the resolution on the 21st, because we could also double down. If any family is in town, they could come. We could do a thing that makes the April 22nd, Charles and Sexton Day in Webster.
It's ideal.
So, you know,
Let's get it done.
it's that thing. Thanks, Chris.
I'll keep you updated.